Yesterday was the week after Easter, which of course is when the well known scene in the Gospel of John takes place with Thomas and Jesus. Thomas is not there the night of the resurrection. And so he doesn't believe them that Jesus is risen from the dead. But Jesus comes again in a week on Sunday night after the Sunday after the Easter. And that's where we are in John 20, 29, 28, 29. Thomas has basically said, unless I can touch the nail prints, unless I can feel into the side, and we have a Caravaggio behind me of Thomas looking at the nail prints. I'm not going to believe, he says. And so Jesus appears, and Jesus says, "Okay, here you are. Go ahead, do it." But Thomas doesn't need to at that point. And this is the scene. Apokrythe Thomas kai apen auto, answered Thomas and said to him. And then we have a quote with a capital letter here. So apokrythe is from apokrinomai. Omai, it's deponent, which means it takes middle or passive endings, but it's translated actively. It's just bizarre. Theta eta has me thinking what? Aorist passive. So it is aorist passive deponent, passive informed, deponent active in meaning. So aorist passive deponent, indicative, third singular from apokrinomai. He answered. Thomas, Thomas. Thomas answered in the Hebrew order, interesting, with the subject after the verb. Thomas answered and said to him, aping an aorist, so this is the aorist of Lego. It's irregular, you just have to memorize it. Aorist, active, indicative, third singular from Lego. A nu with an epsilon in front of it is often a movable nu, so it's meaningless. It's just there to help the sound. Throw it away, because the next word begins with a vowel. For example, apenauto is easier to say than apetauto. You'd have to stop just for a second. Epsilon is a very common third person singular past tense active indicative ending. Okay, so Thomas answered and said to him, quote, the Lord of me and the God of me, my Lord, my God. And so Thomas believes. He doesn't have to touch things, he believes. The Lord of me and the God of me. Ho kuriosmu kai ho theosmu. The mu is an enclitic. That means it doesn't usually do its own accent. So kurios has to have two accents to pick up the slack. And theos, it's on the last syllable, so it's okay. It doesn't have to have a double accent. But ho kuriosmu kai ho theosmu. Okay, my Lord, my God. Lege auto ho Jesus. Says to him Jesus, again, in the kind of the Hebrew order. And let me go ahead and put my picture up at the top now. I think that changes in the recording. Says to him Jesus, quote, capital letter, because you have seen hoti heorakas me pepistukas, because you have seen me, you have believed. Seeing is believing, right? This may be where that expression comes from. Hoti, in this case, introduces a causal clause, because you have seen me. Heorakas, notice that me is a enclitic, doesn't have an accent, and so heorakas has to double the accent to pick up the slack. Heoraka is the perfect of horao, to see. The kappa alpha would have also clued me in that this is perfect active indicative, second singular from horao. Because you have seen me, you have believed. All right. Now, pepistukas, again, kappa alpha indicates perfect tense. We have reduplication at the front of the P. It gets beside itself and puts an epsilon in front or in between it. So this is perfect active indicative second singular from pistuo, to believe. The perfect tense is a sense of you believed in the past, or you saw in the past, and it has remained seen, or it has remained believed. And so there is an enduring quality to it. You've seen me and you believe now for good. I mean, it's not a guarantee. He could stop believing at some point in the future, but he started believing and he's continued believing up to this point, at least. Because you have seen and are still seeing, and that sight is in your eyes, that is, and you have believed me, and the believing is still in your mind. Because you have seen me, you have believed. Makarioi hoi me edontes kai pistusantes. Blessed are the ones not having seen and having believed, which of course I think is directed at the audience of the Gospel of John, because the audience of the Gospel of John is hearing this read to them in a church, and in a sense, uh, Jesus in this story is blessing them. Jesus is blessing the audience of the Gospel of John, who decades later, maybe in the 90s even, so perhaps what is that, 60 years later, who some 60 years later have not seen Jesus in the flesh, but they believe. And so this is a blessing for the audience of the Gospel of John. And of course, it's a blessing to us today as well. Blessed are is implied. This is a predicative use of the adjective, which is adjective, article, uh, noun. That's called the predicative use. And with the predicative use, you stick the word are in. Blessed are the ones not having seen and yet having believed. Um, so edontes is a participle. My aunt is an active participle. Id tells me it's from horao again. So it's the same root as heorakas. May is the word for not that is used with participles. And so this is a participle. This is a aorist because of id, active participle from aunt, nominative masculine plural because of s. Um, and then Hoy would have told me it was nominative masculine plural because the article never lies. This is an articular participle or participle with an article. Using Ken's rule, if it has the article, use who or that. So the ones who have not seen. Blessed are the ones who have not seen. The ones not having seen. I usually translate participles in three stages. First, the ing stage, which is kind of how I left it. The ones, it's a substantive use of the participle because we have to come up with a noun. There's no noun with it. So I put ones in there. The ones not having seen. So having seen. But you could take it to stage 2 and put a who in there. The ones who not having seen, and then stage 3, clean up. Blessed are the ones who have not seen. Blessed are the ones who have not seen and yet who believe. Um, so sigma alpha has me thinking this is an aorist. Aunt, it's an active participle. Aorist active participle, again, nominative masculine plural from pistuo. The ones not having seen and yet having believed. There's a kind of a concessive sense to it. Although they've not seen and yet they still believe. Okay, maybe not a concessive. Anyway, all right. So putting it all together, Thomas answered and said to him, "My Lord and my God." Jesus says to him, "Because you have seen me, you believe. Blessed are the ones who have not seen me, and they still believe." So this has been John 20, 28, and 29 in remembrance of this week after Easter.